Hey guys, I'm just going to make a video here to walk you through the first couple pages of one of our learning modules. I probably should have done this earlier, but didn't even think about it. So if you're watching this, I'm just going to walk through the first page or two. If you're still struggling, please let me know and I will help you individually one-on-one. We can do a meeting, we can share screens, I can get you going. But here's where I would start. When I click on that link, it should bring you to this page, and I am doing this on a computer. But I will keep that in mind when we're doing the I'll demonstrate the cross-section question, and I know on the iPads those are tough. So if you come to our login screen, you're going to log in because you should have already been in here one time. You're going to log in with your Google. This should be just a simple Google sign-on like you guys are pretty used to doing. And I'm going to sign in with my husband's name because I made him a student so that I have access to see exactly what you guys are seeing. So here's what you guys should see when you log in. You have the module, you have the pretest. Your pretest should be done. That was supposed to be done week 2. If not, you can finish that. I did not finish it. But up here, when you're running through the module, you're always going to run by yourself. And then as that pops open, it should bring you to the last place that you left off. If not, you can always go up here to the menu in the side. And you can go, we're just going week by week. So this was week 1, this is week 2, and here's where we are week 3. So then I'm going to start with activity 1 or page 1. Okay, so it brought me home. If it brings you here, you can take this begin activity. Otherwise, you can just pick number 1. And I'm just going to walk through this a little bit with you guys. If you watch me over here in the monitor, there might be some times where I show you something with my hands, if that helps. So just pay attention. Don't forget about me down here. But I'm just going to start by reading through this. It says, in activity 2, you investigated places on Earth where mountains are formed as two plates are moving towards each other and one goes under the other. Scientists call this process subduction. So if you look at my hands here, what's happening in subduction is as these two plates are coming together, instead of pushing up to form mountains, they're coming together and one moves underneath. So this area down here, that's called the subduction zone. As you saw, the subduction of one plate beneath another creates landforms like mountains and trenches and events like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions at Earth's surface. So as the plates are moving together and they get stuck and kind of jerk around a little bit, that's where we get earthquakes. As this plate moves underneath and starts to melt down here, extra magma is produced, and that magma then can go up through this crust and produce where we saw those mountains being created here. And then as we do this, right in this area here, where the plate's getting pulled down, that's where we can start to get those trenches forming. Okay, so it's important to remember, though, that Earth is made up of not just two plates, but many plates, all of them moving at the same time in different directions. In activity 2, we looked at what happens when two plates move together. However, all plates can't be moving towards each other, and every plate has other edges. Since Earth is made up of lots of plates, it must be true that each plate touches all of the plates around it, and there must be different ways for plates to interact at these other kinds of boundaries. In this activity, we will investigate earthquakes and volcanoes in places that are different from the Andes and the Aleutians, to explore landforms and events associated with other types of plate interactions on Earth. Okay, so I would say the biggest thing that's going to help you guys when you're walking through this module is to read these directions. I know sometimes, like, this was 4 little paragraphs. It can get a little bit long, but it does do a pretty good job explaining to you. So if we look here, then it says, let's investigate the earthquake and volcano data to see if we can find the rest of the boundaries of the plate on which South America sits. Then we can find out what's happening with those other boundaries. So as we go down here, they call this one, I believe, the Seismic Explorer. When they talk about the Seismic Explorer, it's this map where you have the option, to change your map type. So if you change your map type, this is what we've done, like when we did GIS in class. You can just change what your map looks like. My suggestion is to just keep it on the relief map. That's probably the easiest one for you guys to use. But where you will do some changing is for your data type. You can choose to turn on and off the continent names, whatever you feel like helps you the most. You can turn on and off volcanoes. So volcanoes will show up as just little triangles, and then you can choose to turn on and off earthquakes. So I'm going to turn both of those on, and then I'm also going to put on my key so that it shows me, this is where Oops, it'll show me the different colors of volcanoes. It'll show me what they correspond to, how old they are, or no, I'm sorry, time since their last eruption. And then when I play the volcano or the earthquakes here in just a second, you will see the smaller the circle means the lower the strength of the earthquake. And then these different colors correspond to how deep down the earthquake happened. So remember, if we have one plate that's going underneath another, down here, you're going to have deep earthquakes happening as this plate is moving down and getting stuck on the other. Okay, so I'm going to put this away for just a minute, and I'm going to run my earthquakes. So as you look down here, it's showing you these are all the earthquakes that have happened in 1987, 88, 89, 90. It's going to go all the way up until 2020. Okay, and then as that is going, it's almost done here. And there we go. So now we can kind of see where all the earthquakes and the volcanoes are happening. So that's what this is showing you. Then if I go down, we're going to just go through a couple questions here together. We'll go through 1 and 2. It says, use the earthquake and volcano data to see if you can outline the entire plate that South America is part of. Take a snapshot, trace an outline of the plate. So anytime it's telling you guys to take a snapshot, it's going to take a snapshot of whatever is on the screen right now. So if I were to do a snapshot right now, it would only take a snapshot of this little piece of Africa. So anytime you do that, I'm going to reset my map so that it's the whole world. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to take a snapshot. So if I look at this, if I'm thinking about this and it's asking me to say, okay, where do I think the outline of South America is? If I look at this, I know that there's a plate here because last week we studied that there's a plate right here forming the Andes Mountains. I'm going to use my drawing tool. And right here, the place where I know there's a plate, there's a lot of earthquakes and some volcanoes. So my best guess, is that obviously there's going to be a plate here. I already know about that one. And then if I look around, I see there's another edge of earthquakes or line of earthquakes that run here. So my guess is that this plate is going to run all through here. Okay, and so then I'm going to go down and I'm just going to hit done, and then it's going to save my answer. So then I have my answer saved right here. Okay, and then it says, what evidence did you use from the Seismic Explorer to locate boundaries of the plate which South America is located on? Explain why you think the boundaries are where you drew them. So here, you don't have to write a ton, you guys. I would just maybe write something like, I looked for areas where, where there were can't type, were a lot of earthquakes. And so then I'm done. So then I would move on. Maybe. It's going to let me here. I would move on then to the next slide. And I'm just going to show you one more thing because my video is starting to get a little bit long here. Again, if you need more help than this, you guys, please, please, please just contact me. We can walk through some more together. I'm just going to show you one more question. It says, now that you've sketched an outline of the plate, we need to investigate another boundary. Part of this outline of the plate is right down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Just like we did before, you're going to look at seafloor surface features as well as earthquakes and volcanoes to try to understand what's happening along this boundary. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do the same thing that I did. I'm only going to look at earthquakes this time just to keep it a little bit cleaner or easier to look at. So I'm going to hit start. And let's see here. Okay, so I just paused it for a minute. So you can see now I have all my earthquakes back on there. I'm going to scroll down a little, and question 3 is the one where it asks you to make a cross section. So I am going to show you this one without actually having you make a cross section. I'm going to show you how you can answer number 4 without actually having to make a cross section because I know several of you working on your iPads aren't able to do it. So it says, make a cross section of the earthquakes on the boundary of the plate in the Atlantic Ocean. Remember to draw your cross section perpendicular to earthquakes. Take a snapshot. So if you cannot get the cross section to work, just go ahead and hit this take a snapshot button. Mine says replace because I already put one in there. And I give you permission if it's not working, just go ahead and include a snapshot of this. Just include a snapshot of your whole thing. So I'm just going to hit done just so that there's something in there. So I'm going to hit done. And some of you may be thinking, well, okay, now I can't answer number 4, but I'm just going to show you that you can. So it says, describe the depth of the earthquakes found along the boundary in the Atlantic Ocean. So as I look at this, here's the Atlantic Ocean. You guys, you can still look at this. So as I zoom in a little bit, I see that most of these earthquakes are red. So then if I look at my key, red is the most shallow earthquake there is. That means that the earthquakes are happening pretty close to the surface of Earth. So then as I go down here, you can see then if I talk about depth of earthquakes, they're all pretty shallow. So even if you can't make a cross section, you can still answer that question. Okay? And then last thing I just want to show you the geographic profiles again. It says below is a geographic profile that provides information about land and elevation along the profile line from point A to point B across the Atlantic Ocean. So I just want to really quick show you what this is again. We have point 1, which is right here on the map. Here's South America. So you can see here's South America. You have point 2 over here. This is Africa, the African continent. And then as this line moves across the Atlantic Ocean, this picture down here, the geographic profile, is showing you this is what the seafloor looks like as you move across the Atlantic Ocean. So at South America is here. You can see right after South America, it drops down to 4,000 meters below sea level, keeps going down, 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 gets to 6,000 meters below sea level. Then in the middle of the ocean, we have somewhat of a rise. Gets all the way up here to only 2,000 meters below sea level, drops back down, and then right here, you can see it corresponds. When it gets back to Africa, it goes up pretty sharply, and then there's the African continent.